listen.
Okay, so your boy's on day 12 now of this whole quarantine and chill series. There isn't a lot to do. I've played every video game I've had. I literally just downloaded this free Sonic game that came with PlayStation Plus. Not that great of a game. Pretty boring. Not the best. So I'm running out of things to do. I've played every game I've had: Battlefront, WWE, 2K, NBA 2K, Resident Evil. I played the new demo for Resident Evil 3. Pretty good. Looking forward for that very much. But man, your boy's getting some cabin fever very, very quickly. Boys turning into Jack Torrance here, my boys, because there's just not that much to do. But before we jump into the whole Weeknd album review, this is pretty much what this episode of Hollywood Uncensored is going to be. We're going to discuss some WrestleMania stuff, some Braun Strowman stuff, and definitely want to react to, or let you guys know what I think about Tom Brady going to Tampa Bay. Still wild. But let's jump right into this discussion before we jump into the rest of the show. I was having this conversation with somebody last night because, again, there isn't much to do. And somebody told me that NSYNC is better than the Backstreet Boys. Now, to me, that is blasphemy. It should be a sin to even think that Justin Timberlake's bitches are better than the greatest boy band of all time. The Backstreet Boys, number one, are still killing it, by the way. Still dropping gems, still dropping albums, still touring the world. They're going to be in LA, hopefully, fingers crossed, in October, which I'm considering either going to the Weeknd concert in August or probably seeing the Backstreet Boys in October. That ain't no shame, boy. I want to see that. That's great music right there. That's your boy's childhood. Not gonna deny it. Your boy was a Backstreet mark for a very, very long time. But in my opinion, if you're making me choose between Backstreet Boy and JT's bitches, I'm gonna go with the Backstreet Boys every single time. Because number one, it's like NSYNC was nice, don't get me wrong, they had some gems, but they weren't killing it consistently like Backstreet was. Backstreet slayed the late 90s and the early 90s, and they slayed the early 2000s, and it's 2020 and they're still dropping new material. While in the example of NSYNC, they're still out there every single day begging Justin Timberlake to return just for an hour, just for a 20-second, 20-minute show. Look, the best example I can give you between Backstreet and NSYNC is very much this. And for the old timers are going to get this, the millennials and the youngsters won't. I'm in between. I'm ageless. I wish. It's comparing the Jackson 5 to the Temptations. Now, the Temptations are a million times better than the Jackson 5. But the only reason the Jackson 5 have any legitimacy is because of a man named Michael Jackson, the king of pop. That is the only reason why NSYNC is still a topic of discussion when it becomes this debate between who's better, Backstreet or NSYNC. It's because, as my dog jokes, it's because Justin Timberlake. Without JT, NSYNC ain't shit. Backstreet is a cohesive group. Now, K-pop Twitter, do not come after your boy. I'm not trying to disrespect any of your boy bands. I'm just letting you know. Backstreet Boys, and even Blackstreet, but Backstreet Boys are the greatest boy band of all time. And I wanted to start this podcast off like this because I had this heated debate. I posted it on my Instagram story. Follow your boy on Instagram. I made a poll because I wanted to see what people voted. A bunch of people voted, and it ended up being 50-50. What is wrong with you people? Backstreet is so much superior because the biggest thing is that they're still killing it in the year 2019 and 2020. They're still laying it down, dropping the hits, singing the oldie but goodies. NSYNC, they gotta wait and see when JT wants to throw up his greatest hit show so they can have a little 20 seconds of fame. It's Backstreet Boys. I don't care what anybody says. My boys, you let me know down below in the comment section, Backstreet Boys or NSYNC. Let me know in the comment section. I think it's Backstreet. I think they're the greatest boy band of all time. I guarantee there's going to be some One Direction stan or some K-pop Twitter stan that's like, how dare you? But it's Backstreet Boys. The longevity of their careers, the hits, The fact that they're still together, day and night, Backstreet Boys are greater than NSYNC. I just wanted to start that podcast off because I cannot believe that poll ended up being 50-50. And don't get me wrong, I love Justin Timberlake. I don't know about that last Justin Timberlake album when he went full country on us. I don't know how he went from 2020 Experience, which is one of the greatest albums I've ever listened to, and then went full country, and it was just complete garbage. But Timberlake, as The Weeknd, which I'm going to get into that whole Weeknd after hours review right now. Timberlake has a lot of MJ in him. Like, that dude, when he goes pop, it's beautiful music. Like, him and Timbaland, that is Kobe Shaq right there in music. When they get together, they drop some gems. This last JT album, though, snooze fest. But when JT's, like, ready to drop gems, he'll drop, like, that 2020 Experience. Dear God. There's days, like, I still listen to that album completely because it's just so well produced, so well sung, performed, etc., etc. But without JT, the NSYNC is irrelevant, my boys. Look, I'm going to give it to the boy band that's still together, that's still killing on a nightly basis over the boy band that is living off the coattails of the lead singer that left. What NSYNC is the Jackson 5. Nobody wants to see the Jackson 5 without the GOAT MJ. So that's just my point. I just want to throw it out there as we jumped into episode number 10 of Hollywood Uncensored. All right, let's jump right into it. Obviously, this episode is probably called the Weeknd After Hours Review. I'm very disappointed. I have not seen Big Quinn drop a reaction to the Weeknd's album. Big Quinn, look, everybody's doing like the reaction to the whole album. I don't like doing it because I hate editing because you really have to cut into like pieces when you do music reviews because copyrights on YouTube are ridiculous already as it is, and your boy has already gotten a strike before. Shout out to New Japan Pro Wrestling. I'm not trying to, mess with that or try to get another copyright strike, especially nowadays when there's really nothing to do. I'm really leaning on my YouTube channel heavily during these tough times. But so the Weeknd dropped his new album. Big Quinn, please drop your reaction because you are the diehard original Weeknd reaction channel. Shout out to Big Quinn though, amazing. I love that YouTube channel. Go check it out. So the Weeknd dropped his album last Thursday, After Hours. He dropped 3 songs, Heartless, Blinding Lights, After Hours. And I thought all 3 of them were absolute bangers, especially Heartless. Both albums had like an 80s flair to it. It felt like this whole album could have been like the Blade Runner soundtrack. It really had this futuristic 80s approach to it. So I listened to it Thursday night, and my boys, there's always going to be Michael Jackson comparisons with this guy. And before we jump into this reaction or review as well, I do want to make it perfectly clear that, like, everybody always, says when they became a Weeknd fan, I had no idea who the Weeknd was until Take Care. And that's me being real with you. I'm not going to sit here and act like I was this diehard Weeknd fan since day one. Like, a lot of people recently do, but I didn't know who the Weeknd was until the Drake Take Care album, which the Weeknd worked heavily on and was featured on very heavily. Take Care, which is one of the greatest albums of all time till this day. A lot of people think that's Drake's number 1 album. I think So Far Gone and potentially Views maybe better. Or no, and So Far Gone. And Nothing Was the Same. Drake has, even his mixtapes. Drake's mixtapes are so much better than a lot of the things he's done. Like, I much rather listen to like So Far Gone, or if you're reading this, It's Too Late, to me, was like better than like Scorpion, my opinion. But I'm sidetracking with Drake right now. But The Weeknd, his introduction to me was Take Care. And then I went back to listen to the other things. And one of the first songs that ever really captivated me of The Weeknd, other than the stuff that he did on Take Care, was definitely his cover of Dirty Diana. Like, if you have not heard that, and I feel like everybody has at this point, it's been a minute since that song's been released. I want to say like 8-9 years ago since The Weeknd dropped Echoes of Silence and Dirty Diana. But his cover of DD, Dirty Diana, was so spellbindingly good. I've never heard anybody literally become almost a reincarnation of Michael Jackson. And this album, After Hours, it literally feels like he's channeling MJ. Now, a lot of people make that comparison from Bruno Mars, Justin Timberlake, as stated earlier. This album, man, it is absolutely flames. It is such a freaking banger. The production on this album is so stupid good. It's unbelievable. The 80s sound to it, the up-tempo, obviously. He went back to his roots. Because Starboy, which was another big Weeknd album, Starboy to me, which is probably my least favorite, or Kissland, but Starboy mostly was my least favorite Weeknd project. And that was probably because that was the Weeknd going from being this underground, gritty, drug, women-obsessed character to then mainstream Weeknd. Now he's signed to a studio. Now that studio is trying to turn him into a pop star. We get Starboy, and Starboy was, the mainstream pop version of Abel. This one, he goes back to his roots of what really made the Weeknd, but he also has still that pop, to it. So the crazy thing about the Weeknd now is he's been able to finally find the common ground from mainstream and what made him pretty much famous. And you can really tell in this album, it's a beautiful mixture of both of those scenarios, the red and the blue pill. Mix them together, you get the two sides of the Weeknd music, which obviously the mainstream music had its fans, but the Weeknd's always going to be clamored for his dark, edgy tone, darkness tone that he's suicidal stuff that he's always promoted from the get-go, from the trilogy, from Take Care, etc., etc. This album was a perfect blend of both. You got the very quotable Instagram captioned quotes from him in this album. One of the craziest lyrics, I believe, was from Snow. Let me go check it out. I forget what song it was from, but one of the best lyrics from this was he was saying, "I used to pray when I was 16. If I didn't make it, I probably would have let my wrist bleed." That line is so unbelievably cold, my boys. Just unbelievably cold. Like, this dude is just on a different playing field than everybody else. Lyrically, production-wise, these Canadians, man, him, Bieber, Drizzy, which new Drake music has leaked online as well, and I listened to that a few nights ago, and it sounds great, but usually when Drake music leaks like that, that means it's probably not going to be on the album, but we'll get into that right now. But this Weeknd album, I gave it a 9 out of 10. I really did. Production-wise, story-wise, singing-wise, music-wise, I can understand why some people thought there was maybe some skippable tracks here and there. I didn't agree with that. I thought every song on this was a banger. Like, the flow change, the production, that's the biggest thing for me on this album. Whoever produced this, and I'm going to have to look this up, obviously Metro Boomin produced Heartless, which Heartless, banger, absolute banger. But everything else, the amount of quality and quantity on this After Hour album is so good. And I know we're still probably going to get a Kendrick album, and I know we're probably still going to get a Drake album, but I would not be surprised that if we do make it through this year, and we call hope maybe we do, but if we are able to make it through this year, let's try to make it even through April. Sidetrack, somebody was like, okay, in January you had World War III. In February we're mourning Kobe and Gigi. Rest in peace to the GOAT. In March you had COVID-19. April's going to give us Cloverfield or Godzilla. Some monster is going to come out because that's the way this year has been going. But if we're able to make it through the year, I think at the end of the year, we're going to remember the Weeknd's After Hour as possibly the album of the year. It may even be already the best produced album of 2020. That is yet to be seen. I'm very excited to see what we get Drake or when we get Drake, because usually he drops near the summer. But it's either Drake's going to drop in the summer or he's going to drop in October. I think Take Care dropped in November, December? Drake's all over the place, but we're getting a new Drake album this year, guaranteed, with all the amount of music that's been leaking from Drizzy. But this Weeknd album, man, this dude can sing, man. He may be the best singer out there. He really may be the best male singer out there, other than Adele. I don't want to disrespect the GOAT Adele. And we might get new Adele, too. That's the rumor, right, that we're getting a new Adele album. So, I mean, look, I'm just going to go on a limb and say this. I would not be surprised if this Weeknd album ends up being the album of the year. But we'll still have yet to be seen. There's a lot of out there. I know I was listening to Joe Budden talk about Jay Electronica's album, which I enjoyed, man. I liked Jay's album, but Budden pretty much spit some facts saying, pretty much that was Jay-Z's album pretty much. And now when I go back to listen to it, Hove kind of took over there, man. It's a very good mixture between the both of them, but I think one of the things Budden brought up, like, this is your debut album. We haven't heard you in a decade. You should be the first person rapping on your debut album, not Hove. And then Hove took the ball, and I hate to be the one to say this. Look, Jay Electronica is one of the greatest, MCs of all time. Dude's flow is insane. But at the end of the day, Hove kind of carried him in that album. Don't come after me, Jay Electronica fans. Look, I'm just saying, I thought Hove was so on a different level. Like when Hove turns it on, Hove is one of the greatest of all time. And you could tell on this album, man. So I thought Joe Budden had some really big takes on the good takes. I know Jay Electronica got kind of offended by what Joe said, but and that's another thing too. Like I've barely started really listening to the Joe Budden podcast, man. I can see why people really love this dude. His podcasts are so damn well done and such a great take between 3, 4, 5 different individuals. How many people are in the room? I don't know. It's such a great podcast. I can see why people. I just barely got into it, and I have not been disappointed. It's a really fun podcast. Got some notes here though. Just to say again, Weeknd album. If you have not listened to it, I highly recommend it. Very, very well done. Great album. Go listen to the Weeknd after. And it doesn't need free promotion, especially from a podcast that gets like 40 views. That's beside the point. Ahsoka, my boys. Y'all know your boy's a huge Star Wars fan. Love me some Star Wars. Just recently, especially with this whole quarantine lockout situation, which I just think the mayor should probably lock everything down. You still have idiots hanging out in Manhattan Beach and Huntington Beach and going hiking and shit like that. Man, like the people that cannot stay home for more than a week bother me so much. Like just stay home, watch a movie, wash your hands. You don't have to be like the amount of people are like, no, we got to go jogging. We got to go out. We got to go get some sunshine. Do you really? Because now this whole thing that's went from being 2 weeks to now probably like 4 to 6 months. Come on, man. Just stay home. Yeah, I think maybe eventually you probably got to start setting some ground rules and start arresting some of these folks. It's getting pretty much ridiculous. But Ahsoka, anyways, got sidetracked. Cabin fever, my boys. Ahsoka, live action, my boys. Coming to The Mandalorian Season 2. Look, if the world is going to end, just wait. Just give us till The Mandalorian Season 2 shows up. Because you know how long people have been waiting for a live action Ahsoka? Now, just recently, I have gotten myself into Clone Wars with Disney+. I have time to kill. So I've been watching Clone Wars since Season 1. And I completely understand why people are such huge fans of Ahsoka. She is such a relatable character, very much like Luke, where you just... It's easy to relate yourself to that character and the things that she goes through, and especially being the apprentice of Anakin Skywalker, which is my all-time favorite Star Wars character. I think getting a live-action Ahsoka for The Mandalorian Season 2, I was already hyped for The Mandalorian Season 2, so giving us this is just the cherry on top of a huge sundae. Let's be honest, The Mandalorian might be the best Star Wars thing we've got in a very long time. And it's easily the best accepted universally by everybody Star Wars thing in a very long time, even though that last Star Wars game was rated very well. But The Mandalorian is the best thing going for Star Wars. And now you're adding a live-action Ahsoka with Rosario Dawson starring her. Something that my boy... one of my idols and heroes, that Kevin Smith, has been preaching and screaming on every podcast that he can that she should be the one to play Ahsoka. It's finally going to happen. Season 2 of The Mandalorian, which is supposed to drop around October, November. So 2020, just chill. If you want the world to explode, make it happen after Season 2 of The Mandalorian. Then do your thing. But we're this close of finally seeing a live-action Ahsoka. Give us time to see it and to appreciate that. Because that is going to be dope. And then the rumors are saying that if this is a successful debut, which it's going to be, like when that first trailer of The Mandalorian Season 2 drops and we see Dawson as Ahsoka for the first time, I guarantee you that will be the #1 reaction, maybe of the year. It really may be. Unless they drop something new for Batman, which I highly doubt we even get a trailer for Comic-Con this year because now that production has been completely halted for the Batman. The first showing of her as Ahsoka, picture or trailer, I'm going to go with they show her in the Mandalorian teaser trailer, Season 2. That's going to get instantly 1 million views. And that's going to be the highest rated reaction video for all these reaction channels on YouTube, including your boy. Because I will rush to do a reaction to that. Because we've waited such a long time to finally get this character in live action. And if the rumors are set to be true, if this is successful, which it will be, then it's going to lead to an Ahsoka live action series, which I am down for. But I'm also going to say this. Give us the Obi-Wan live action series. It's bad enough that it's no longer going to be a movie. You turned it into a series. Then you said there's issues with creativity because you want to make it 4 to 5 episodes long, one season, 30 episodes each. That's ridiculous. If that was the plan, you should have just made it a movie. Ewan McGregor deserved a solo Obi-Wan movie. And I really wished Rebels wouldn't have used Darth Maul the way they used him. Spoiler alert, if you've never watched Star Wars Rebels, in one of the episodes, Darth Maul finds Obi-Wan in Tatooine. They have this very quick lightsaber duel. Obi-Wan, but he's older now. He's Obi-Wan from New Hope. Completely washes Darth Maul. I would have much rather have seen that in live action. I think it would have been cool to see a live action storyline of Darth Maul hunting Obi-Wan Kenobi. I think that would have been a really great one-off there instead of just using it for Rebels. But you could also have Obi-Wan doing different missions and going against the Sand People, etc., etc. But we'll see how that goes. If we're going to get Ahsoka, I'm happy about that, but let's get the ball rolling with the Obi-Wan series because it's been a minute, man. Ewan McGregor's not getting. By the time we get it, Ewan McGregor's going to look like McGinnis from A New Hope. At this point, though, how long this is taking to get this series of Obi-Wan, he's going to be all white with the white beard, and he's going to look like McGinnis from Episode 4 at this point. We got to talk about WrestleMania, man. It's now going to be 2 nights. It will be Saturday, April 4th, and Sunday, April 5th, WrestleMania. For the first time ever, it will be a 2-night event, very much reminiscent of New Japan Pro Wrestling Wrestle Kingdom, which is funny because back in January, me and my boy RJ Wallace on the Mats and Marks podcast, which, by the way, that is being delayed now. I'm not going to be on there anytime soon. As long as this thing is continuing to happen, you will not see me on Mats and Marks. Unfortunately, I miss my Mats and Mark staff. I miss the boys. I miss Sane and RJ, and I miss them bickering. But for the time being, there probably will not be an episode of Mats and Marks for the time being. We will be back, though, as soon as we can. That's TBD at the moment. But anyways, it's funny that me and RJ discussed what if WrestleMania became a 2-night event. We weren't aware that it was going to lead to getting an actual 2-night event, and we didn't want it to be this way. I'll tell you that right now. I was interested in the idea up until the point when they said Gronkowski was going to be the host of the show. That's where you lost me. I don't care to see Gronk in a wrestling ring. A lot of people were like excited about him dancing to the ring. I thought it was cringy. It's everything that I hate about him being involved in WWE, that he just doesn't take it seriously. Him and Mojo. I mean, come on, Mojo, really? Honestly, that's the reason why I didn't do a top 10 SmackDown reaction this last Saturday. If you're wondering why I didn't drop that. It had Mojo and Goldberg and Gronk. Hard pass, man. I'm not saying everybody should hate Gronk. He deserves an opportunity. But here's a guy that's hosting WrestleMania. Give it to an actual wrestler, man. Like Stone Cold, or even bring back Dwayne. But anyways, WrestleMania is going to be 2 nights. Here's the problem, though. It's going to be filmed, pre-taped. And they're planning on taping WrestleMania on Wednesday and Thursday of this week. So essentially, you have over a week to avoid spoilers for WrestleMania 36. Now, the problem with that, other than trying to avoid spoilers for more than a week, because I guarantee you somebody's going to leak it, the problem with that is a lot of this is going to be overproduced. A lot of this is going to be too much and just be it's just going to be approached in the wrong way when they could have just postponed it. Because from what I was told, the WWE had a chance to at least postpone the show for best case scenario June. And in June, they could have had WrestleMania 36 at Madison Square Garden. Now, that was approached to them. But from what I was told, Vince was like, nope, the show goes on. We're having WrestleMania this year. We're having it in April, no matter what. We're going to have a 2-night event. We're going to bring in Gronkowski. Now we're going to have an Undertaker AJ Styles Boneyard match. Now we're talking about having John Cena versus Bray Wyatt, and we're going to film it like it's a movie. I really hate the idea of them having to pre-tape it. I understand why, because we don't know the severity of the situation we're living in right now. It seems to only get worse by the days. As much as I want to be positive, but I'm just, I miss me some basketball. I miss me the Lakers. I've been cooped up here for 12 days. This is how it feels to live in The Shining. But yeah, so WrestleMania will be taped Wednesday and Thursday of this week, so avoid spoilers as much as you can, because I mean I'm pretty sure they're going to be on Instagram and Twitter and Facebook and all that shit. So make sure you avoid it as best you can. That brings us to Braun Strowman's bitch ass. Braun Strowman, man. So Braun, I decided for whatever reason to take shots at independent wrestlers who are currently struggling to make money right now, obviously because of all the bookings and shows and cancellations. A lot of these guys are promoting their T-shirts and accessories and opening OnlyFans. Ain't hating, gotta make your money. And Braun decided to go on Instagram and talk about how weak that is to be asking fans for money or ask for handouts and PayPals and stuff like that. I had a real problem with Braun discussing this, because Braun, the only reason you're in wrestling is because you're freakishly tall, my boy. Your genetics have made you this monster of a man. And sorry to say this, you're not in wrestling because of your talent. Because if it was for your talent, I'm pretty sure the WWE would have given you a big-time belt as it is. There's a reason why this company does not believe in you as a huge star. You may be a huge human being, but you're not that talented, my boys. Because Braun, I'm sorry to tell you this, you're this generation's boring version of the Big Show. You're a 3 to 4, 5 moveset guy and a gimmick. You're somebody to throw out there just to get a quick pop and a quick laugh for the children, because you're freakishly tall. A lot of these independent guys who are struggling to make money right now, who are trying to figure out how to, live off of these independent wrestling show checks, have every right to find a way to get money any way possible. This right now is the best time to support independent wrestling. Not to bash these guys because they're trying to make a buck off of their name and their gimmick and their T-shirts or OnlyFans, whatever way they got to make money, that's on them. To kill them and try to have this pompous attitude that like, oh, they don't know the struggle because I'm Braun. Brother, you're the Big Show of this generation. That's the only reason you're employed by Vince McMahon. You think he sees you as anything more? I guarantee you at least 90% of these independent wrestlers have way more wrestling ability talents than you will ever have in your lifetime in wrestling. I hate to be that guy, but if you're going to shoot shots at these guys trying to make a buck, look at yourself in the mirror and realize you're only in this business because of your length and size. And if somebody disagrees with me, tell me a good Braun Strowman match. And if you could bring up a good Braun Strowman match, tell me why the only title he's ever held was the IC title, and he only held it for about a month. And that's being generous. This guy, he's there just to be there because he's tall. Just like the great Khali was tall. Just like the Big Show. Bless the Big Show's heart. Love me some Show. But because he's tall and he's big. What do you think the WWE try to get Shaq to sign? What do you think the WWE always pushes these giants? As much as wrestling has evolved from it not being the land of the giants, Vince McMahon will always have a hard-on for any giant that walks his way. But let's be honest, Braun, this is a trash take. You should have just kept it to yourself. You're a genetic, boring ripoff of the Big Show. You should not be going on here telling people that what a shame how they're begging for money. No. They're trying to feed their families, trying to feed themselves. They have every right to do so. Don't talk trash about other people that have better individual talent than, brother, you ever will. That's just my take on that. It's just a stupid thing to discuss by Braun. Just dumb discussion. Tom Brady to the Bucs. I had no idea that was an option. I heard the rumors of the Buccaneers. Obviously, Bruce Arians is a very well-respected coach, one of the best in the game. We've seen what he was able to do in Arizona with what he had. Look at Jameis Winston. Even though Jameis threw 40 interceptions, he still threw 30-plus touchdowns. He still got a lot of yards. Jameis, just super aggressive, which I don't think is a bad thing, but in NFL, if you keep turning the ball over, they'll never give you a second chance. But, I mean, Jameis Winston looked like a legit quarterback under Bruce Arians. And we saw Carson Palmer look like a legit quarterback again under Bruce Arians. Now you give Bruce Arians Tom Brady. And you give Tom Brady 2 really good tight ends and Mike Evans. Mike Evans should be considered as the number 1 wide receiver to pick up in fantasy football. Like, obviously the big names like Odell Beckham and all those guys are going to get picked, but Mike Evans is going to produce. Why? Because his quarterback is Tom Brady. I hate the Patriots. I've always hated Tom Brady. I would have welcomed him with open arms to Las Vegas because Tom Brady is legitimately good. Look at the situation that they were in New England last year. This is a team that won 12 games and made the playoffs. Yeah, they got their ass beat by the Tennessee Titans, but they still made the playoffs. And they had no weapons. Gronkowski retired. Antonio Brown went crazy. Josh Gordon smoked too much weed. We gave him Welker and Mohamed Sanu and no tight end. And they still somehow won 12 games. Now, either that is the madness and the magnificent coaching of Belichick, or that's because Tom Brady is still the greatest quarterback of all times. And yes, I know eventually Pat Mahomes will surpass Brady, but as of right now, we're not going to let one Pat Mahomes Super Bowl run overlap everything that Tom Brady's done. Because a year ago, Tom Brady was a Super Bowl champion. Or was he one? Yeah, he was. Because last year was a terrible Rams-Patriots Super Bowl. A year ago, he just won the Super Bowl. This year, obviously didn't happen. And I like how the 1 year that they don't make the Super Bowl, but we're like, Tom Brady must be washed. He's going to Tampa Bay with Bruce Arians and Mike Evans as his number one target. If you play fantasy football, and I know fantasy football is a minute away, not till August. I don't think we do our fantasy draft till like the third week of preseason, but that's different. I don't know if it starts this year or next year, where like preseason is only 1 week now. I'm not sure. I'm gonna have to confirm that because I know they did agree to this like new players agreement, and like now there's 17 games in the season, and I think preseason is only 1 week now instead of 4 weeks. I always thought NFL preseason is such a giant waste of time. They don't even play anybody. They play the third and fourth stringers for all 4 games. You'll see the starters for like literally 50 seconds and then they're off the field. But just a year ago, Brady won the Super Bowl. Yeah, this year, Pat Mahomes will eventually be the greatest of all time. I truly do believe that. And as a Raider fan, that hurts me to say, by the way. Marcus Mariota, what the fuck are we doing, man? Anyways, Tom Brady in Tampa Bay is going to be a problem, man. Not only that, but now in the NFC and in that division, we get to see him go against Drew Brees twice. Brady versus Brees twice a year. And the Saints loaded up, getting Malcolm Jenkins, Emmanuel Sanders. I don't know how the hell the Saints do this every single year. They just find money miraculously. All of a sudden they have salary cap when they shouldn't have any salary cap. Those Saints-Buccaneers games are going to be much, much, much must-watch TV, my boys. But I was surprised he did go there. For a minute there, I thought he was going to go to the Chargers. And I love how the Chargers, once again, for the sake of them being the Chargers, are being overhyped as always. Every year, man, the Chargers by the national football media are overhyped by their free agent signings and their NFL draft picks, and they're always picked to make the AFC Championship game and then the Super Bowl. And then the season starts and they win 7 to 8 games because their kicker misses a field goal or they muff a punt or they throw an interception. Their quarterback is Tyrod Taylor entered the season, unless they draft Tua. Or they land Cam Newton, which I can see Cam having this renaissance of a season. Now that the Panthers kind of did Cam dirty though, because they're like we're sticking with Cam, and then like it took a week for them to be like, you know what? No, we're gonna go get Teddy Bridgewater, which I like that signing. But the Panthers, I don't know why the Patriots are just like we're gonna go with this guy. We don't want Cam or Jameis. You have a chance to have Cam Newton over what you have now. Like from I know the Patriots are going to tank next year. They're going to try to get that quarterback. Everybody's talking about Lawrence. I think Trevor Lawrence. I may be wrong, but yeah. So obviously the Patriots are going to tank so they can get another star quarterback. But Cam, like I would still give him a shot, like over Tyrod Taylor. I'm just saying. I think I'd rather give Cam a shot. Tyrod was nice for what he's been at. Buffalo. Buffalo was man. But like the Chargers, to me, they have one of the best defenses in football. But like every year we do this. Every year the Chargers have a strong offseason. And every year the national media tells you how the Chargers are going to be a threat in the AFC and yada, yada, yada. Then the season starts and they lose their first, 3 out of 5. And then they win like 2 in a row. And they're like, we told you, here come the Chargers. And then they lose like 3 in a row. And then they miss the playoffs again. And it's like, okay, so they're still the same Chargers. Who gives a rat's ass? Like I don't buy the Chargers hype. I also don't buy Melvin Gordon going to the Broncos. I saw Bronco fans hyping that up that they got Melvin Gordon. Melvin Gordon screwed himself out of $30 million, and he settled on $16 million. And that's still a lot for a guy who looked so bad. People keep telling me, oh, he came back late in the season. No. Melvin Gordon came back for the Chargers week 5, and he looked like Trent Richardson out there. He got outplayed by a 6th round pick running back who the Chargers said, please, Melvin, leave. We're going to stick with this guy over you. So he signs with the Broncos, and Bronco fans are like, oh, man, that's a great signing, man. It's a waste of money. Just like the Raiders signed Jason Witten. It's a waste of money. It's just wasting money just to waste money. What was another pickup I saw for the Raiders? Well, the Raiders didn't do Darius Slay going to Philly. I think that's a great move by Philly. I think the Raiders should have been all over that. The Rams trading Todd Gurley. The Rams, man, you're going into this new arena, this beautiful new arena in LA, in Inglewood, and you're going into that looking super broke. Now they're thinking of cutting or trading Brandon Cooks. Who the hell is Jared Goff? Already had his issues. Now you take away his MVP running back and one of his big targets, Brandon Cooks. Both these LA teams, man, they're showing their brokenness, and they both have terrible owners. That's what happens. The Raiders should have been the team that moved to LA. Or it should have been Raiders, Rams that moved to LA. Should have left the Chargers in San Diego or moved them to Vegas. Is what it is. You can't change what happened in the past. I just think Todd Gurley probably should have went to Tampa Bay. You mean him in Atlanta? It can make some noise. Him there with Julio Jones and Matt Ryan, but I think they just turned Todd Gurley into Devontae Freeman. They released Devontae Freeman. They both are probably going to be. It's just a similar role for Todd. Would have liked to see him to go Miami too. That would have been a cool spot for him. Or again, like Tampa Bay would have been the elite. Like Melvin Gordon and like Todd Gurley really should have circled in on Tampa Bay. Like I get to go play for Bruce Arians and Tom Brady, and they got Mike Evans. That's a win situation. I think Melvin was like, I want to play the Chargers twice. Okay, well, you better show up in those 2 games when you guys played the Broncos. Chargers also signed Chris Harris, which I think the Raiders should have done, and they signed Eli Apple. Man. This Raiders free agency started off so strong and then slowly just started going down as they missed out on every single big cornerback that they wanted. Just every single one. Chris Harris, Darius Slay, Byron Jones, just all the cornerbacks that the Raiders wanted. They missed out on all of them. And now you're talking about having Eli Apple. Come on, man. Jason Witten, CTE Jason Witten for $4 million. Come on, guys. We're just wasting money to waste money. Marcus Mariota, 2-year, $17 million deal. I'm going to go out on a limb and tell you that Marcus Mariota at some point next season will be the starting quarterback for the Raiders. I have a feeling that's what's going to end up happening, and I think the Raiders are probably going to win like 5 games, 6 games total. I think they did some decent moves in free agency, but I think they also dropped the ball here and there, just wasting money to wait. Nelson Aguilar, oh my God, dude. Thank God it's only like a 1-year, $1 million, but we all know the Nelson Aguilar video, the guy being like, I was catching everybody, unlike Nelson Aguilar. Some of these signings for the Raiders, it just felt like they wasted money just to waste it. I wasn't a fan of it, didn't like what they were doing. But yeah, my boys, this is going to be a short episode. Yeah, this is going to be a very short episode. I want to get this up to you guys as soon as I possibly can because this does take a long time to edit. I do have a few questions, though, here just to sound it off and end the episode. So this is the questionnaire spot for Hollywood Uncensored Podcast episode number 10, Warzone or Fortnite. Look, I haven't played Fortnite in a hot minute. The last time I played Fortnite was December when they had that like Star Wars bundle and you're able to use the lightsaber. That was probably the last time I used Fortnite. I've been playing Warzone a lot recently. Big fan of it. Really cool concept. I really like that. Who should have been the host of WrestleMania? An actual wrestler. Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson, Stone Cold Steve Austin. The list goes on and on. Christian. I don't know. Christian would have been cool. I would have been cool with that. But a wrestler, an actual wrestler, not Hulk Hogan, but an actual wrestler. I think that would have been cool. Who did the empty arena better, AEW or WWE? AEW. WWE continues to do like half-ass shows, or it's a show, but they're also giving you like a 30-minute, 40-minute replay match of an old match from an old pay-per-view to kill time. I don't know if they're going to do the same thing for NXT this week, but I haven't heard anything of them having an actual show. AEW had an actual show. It was 2 straight hours of just legit wrestling. They could have came out and said, no, we're not going to debut Brody Lee and Matt Hardy without a crowd. they did it anyways because they knew the world was watching. And I think AEW just really showed them how to get it done on their first time ever with their backs against the wall. AEW killed it out of the park. Very excited to see this week's episode, even though I am a little bit bitter that this week was supposed to be blood and guts, and they have postponed it to a later date. That's shitty. I really did want to see that blood and guts match. But we'll see that eventually. Who is currently the Super Bowl favorites? I'm going to go with the Chiefs for the AFC again, and I'm going to go with the Saints. So I'd say right now, this next upcoming Super Bowl, if we make it that far, Chiefs Saints. That's going to be my pick for the Super Bowl for now. Top 5 favorite. Oh, okay. I can't read. I'm dyslexic now. Top 5 all-time favorite NBA players. My top 5 all-time favorite NBA players. Kobe, Shaq, LeBron. This is where it gets dicey for me. Steve Nash. I've always been a fan of Steve Nash. That dude was a killer on the court. Number 5, man. It's the debate between Pau Gasol and Derek Fisher. I'm going to go with Pau. Pau deserves it. Pau's one of the most underrated players of all time. And the day the Lakers do decide to officially retire Pau Gasol's jersey, I hope they put it right next to 24 because that's where it firmly deserves to be. That dude was so good, and he really changed what happened for the Lakers. They went from being this playoff team. Well, they went from being this team that Kobe did everything to this team that had potential with Bynum, and then they got Pau, and everything changed. And I'll tell you right now, I know we're revisiting history. If the Lakers had Andrew Bynum and Trevor Ariza in 2008 finals, they would have three-peated. They took that Celtics team. That was one of the most stacked teams in NBA history because they didn't just have KG, Ray Allen, and Paul Pierce. Now, these boys had Rondo, Perkins, Tony Allen, Eddie House, James Posey, Sam Cassell. That Celtics team, Josh Powell, that Celtics team was so stupid stacked. And the Lakers pushed that Celtics team to 6 games. And had they not blown at Game 4, when they were up by like 20-plus points, there would have been a 7-game series against that 2008 Celtics team. And by the way, Andrew Bynum wasn't there, and Trevor Ariza wasn't there. We started Vladimir Radmanovic in that 2008 series. Vladimir Radmanovic. And I think we started Luke Walton too, but we started Vladimir. And we pushed one of the deepest teams in NBA history to 6 games. Probably could have had 7. If the tables were turned and Bynum and Ariza were able to play that game, I guarantee you, if Ariza plays that game, Paul Pierce never has that game 1 where he shit himself, went to the locker room crying, making it seem like he tore his ACL, came back bouncing up and down like a pogo stick, and then made like 12 straight points. Trevor Ariza is healthy in that series. He locks down Paul Pierce, and the Lakers beat the Celtics in 6 or 7 games. Which then, we destroyed the Orlando Magic in 2009, and then we beat the Celtics in 7 games in 2010. But Pau Gasol was really the reason behind all of that. As great as Kobe was, and trust me, living through those years of Kobe going to Super Saiyan, having like 6 straight games of 57 points per game, going like 60, 50, 57, 62. Dude was a monster on the court, man. But he couldn't do it by himself, and there was the concerns about Bynum's knees, bring in Pau Gasol, and look what we traded. Yeah, Marc Gasol ended up being one of the best centers in the league, one of the greatest defensive centers in the league. But Javaris Crittenton and Kwame Brown and a couple of draft picks that really didn't turn into anything. If the price of admission for 2 straight championships was Marc Gasol and Javaris Crittenton and Kwame, you do that trade every day. Every single day. That trade was highway robbery. It was probably the biggest highway robbery till this day because it led to so many different things. I really miss the NBA. I need it back. I don't want to talk about Jamal Murray and his KD pubes. That's a different story for a different day. But we're missing the NBA when we're talking about what Jamal Murray. I don't want to get into it. If you know what I'm talking about, you know what I'm talking about. But that was probably the wildest thing any NBA player has posted on their Instagram. And I love how Jamal Murray is like immediately like, oh no, I was hacked. Somebody leaked it. Like just exposing your girl like that and yourself. Like, damn, my boy, like you're trying to post it on OnlyFans. Everybody trying to make it OnlyFans, man. Money's tight, dog. Everybody's home. We got nothing to do. Boring. It's really boring, man. It's really, really boring. I have not seen anybody for like 12. I've just been here. I've got to like the store here and there, like Target and other things just to get some stuff. But like I haven't seen anybody for like 12 days except my family. And like I'm coming up with like a lot of ideas, and I want to present this idea to you guys. Now I'll ask you guys this in my community feed. I'm thinking of doing daily vlogs for however long this thing lasts. I don't know how long this thing's gonna really last, but I'm thinking of adding that because I have a lot of footage of like things I've never uploaded from like throughout the last calendar year. A lot of stuff from last year that I just never added that I would like to add. So if you want to see vlogs, I'm down to put it because look, man, there's really nothing much to react to other than doing this podcast and reactions to like WWE Top 10 and AEW. But there's no basketball. There's been a lack of movie trailers. I don't know if anybody's noticed that, but a lot of these movies are being pushed back. They're probably going to push back Wonder Woman. Black Widow is already kind of confirmed that that's going to be postponed. Onward made no money for Disney, and they're just going to drop it on Disney Plus next week or this week coming up. Sonic is going to come out already. Invisible Man's already out and available for renting. We live in a very interesting time, and like I said, if these last 3 months are any indication, April's going to be a fantastic month in the doozy, right? You can only hope so. My boys, this has been episode number 10 of Hollywood Uncensored. Comment down below. Let me know what you thought of tonight's episode. Let me know your thoughts. Backstreet Boys or NSYNC. Let me know in the comment section down below. I will see you guys later on. You guys enjoy the rest of your night. This has been episode number 10 of Hollywood Uncensored. You guys enjoy the rest of your Monday night too. So...